All right, welcome everybody to the client support webinar for March 29th, 2023. Let me just quickly do an audio check, make sure you can hear me okay. I'm going to show my screen now in just a moment, and you should be able to see that now as well. So just a few of you let me know if everything is A-okay and you can hear me good. No garbling, kind of clear and all that kind of good stuff. All right, good. I think we're good to go. All right, so a couple things today, a few announcements. Okay, great. Yeah, all the feedback's coming out. All okay, great. All right, let me just check a couple more things. All right, so first of all, in order to ask me a question, locate the questions window in the webinar console, because that's how you can communicate to me, okay? That's kind of super important. All right, now, before we get going, anybody have any questions that they're bringing to today's session? I do want to announce that we now have a trial available on the ART software. So if you're thinking about getting it, now's the time. It's a paid trial, but you have it for 30 days and it's for all the software. And so if you want to use the software, including the scanners, then you go ahead and use either NinjaTrader, TradeStation, or MultiCharts. So if you have one of those, you're all set. If you don't, download NinjaTrader. It's free. Use the data provider you want, and you're good to go. All right, and all the software can be installed in there, and the trial includes, all right, free installation. Plus, you get the ART software course as well for free, and that's something you can keep whether you keep the software or not. So you get to try all the software, and then you get to choose which items you may want. And if you want them all, fine, we'll put it together a bundle package for you. So now is the time. So if you've been thinking about doing it, we kind of want to offer that at this particular point, and we wanted to bring that forward in 2023. So that's all there. All right, so let's start out. Who has questions on any of the software they're using or anything of that nature? Any questions out there? Okay, if you have a question, type it in the questions area, and I will be glad to respond to you. Okay, let's see what we got. Okay, how do I use, here's a question. How do I use the indicators along with the ART software? Okay, so what you want to do with the indicators in the bottom is kind of use them almost like a checklist item. So if you're getting an entry, let's say we got an entry on this pyramid here, okay? You want to make sure the entry is verified by the indicators below. So I'm putting a little box here. So this is the owl, right? And the owl is a histogram that measures momentum. So if we're getting a bullish pyramid up here by the ART system, then we want to make sure the owl is also green, because we want to make sure at the time we take that trade that the price bar that goes above the apex is green. So that's a checkbox that has to be checked in order for you to take a pyramid trading point to a long position. Now, if you want to go short, you got to wait for a red one, right? The next thing here is the PTF. Now, the PTF does not have to be green or yellow for a trade, but it cannot be the opposite color of the direction you want to go. So it happens to be green here, which is great. Okay, that even increases the probabilities you're going to do well. But you can go long on a green pyramid if this is yellow or green, okay? But you cannot go long if it's red. So notice that, for example, and I'll just use it. I just happen to have this chart open, so I'll just use this as a quick example. But notice here that when this pyramid here initiated a purchase, that the PTF had already turned to green, okay? So you can take that as long as this is green as well. Now, the indicator under here is the trend line master. And usually You can go long on a yellow trend line. I really don't use it for an early entry. I use it for an entry that's more mature. And so let me just explain that by bringing up a whiteboard here. So if I have a whiteboard and I have a market that's kind of bracketing, all right, and I want to go long when that bracket gets broken, well, and I get a pyramid, let's say I get a pyramid right here, okay, and then the market goes up and puts me long here. The trend line might not have time yet to change from a neutral to a green. So it may be yellow, okay? Or if this is part of a big trend up, maybe the trend line here is kind of like this, and it's still red down here on the trend line. So if you want to go in early on a breakout, do not use the trend line master. Does that make sense? Do you understand the thinking behind that? So the trend line master takes a look at trend lines across various time frames in terms of there's minor trend lines, there's major trend lines. It's kind of like, short-term versus long-term trend lines. So I don't use it for my initial entry. I don't worry about it. But I do worry about the owl, and I do worry about the PTF, and I do worry about the pyramids. So that's really extremely important. Now, all right, once the trend proves itself and we get more of a bigger pullback, then the trend line will be green, okay? So that won't be a problem. But let's say we get another pyramid here, okay? If you have a green owl again, all right, a yellow or green PTF, now I'm going to look at the trend line master because the trend is more mature. I kind of want to make sure that trend line is at least yellow or green, but never red, okay? So I don't want to add into the trend if the trend line has not gone above the long-term bearish trend line. Initial entry, yes. Add on, no. Is that clear? And then there's one more indicator down there that we have that's called the ERI. Now the ERI is identifying greed and fear bars. And so when prices get manic, like this one kind of got really manic off its bottom, straight up, you're going to see a situation where it could produce a greed bar, all right? We use these at times to scale out because they usually appear near the end of some type of move up. And likewise, for a move down, it'll create a fear bar. So if prices, but it's a signal bar. So if prices get above a greed bar before going below it, that means the greed's continuing. So you don't scale out on that. You would only scale out if it went below the designated greed bar, okay? Any questions on that? We do not use the fear and greed necessarily for entries and exits. It's more for scaling out and looking for when trends get manic. Because if you're in a trend and you've had a big manic move up and you're getting a greed bar, you may want to use that. It's kind of used in the same way, similarly as art reversals, but they form differently than art reversals. All right, let's see. Jim saying, can the Ninja Market Analyzer handle a scan as you have it set up on your screen of the S&P 500 without issues? Sure. Okay. But I'm not sure what you mean by issues. Define issues. You shouldn't have to change the settings. Now, here's the problem people have. They'll have 100 charts open. They'll have 500 to 1,000 symbols loaded in their market analyzer, and they're importing data from a broker. And the data takes time to get over, especially from a broker, because the broker data probably is not going to be as good as if you were paying for data coming from a fast server. So that's the problem. If you're locking up NinjaTrader, you got too much open. All right. For example, I have here, okay, a 20+ core computer with 64 gigabytes of memory. And the problem is if you do not have a dedicated computer for your trading, do you know how many applications are running in the background? You might say, well, I have, 30 gigabytes of memory and the best processor. but you also might have a ton of stuff running in the background. And so this is why a lot of traders, what they tend to do, all right, is they tend to, let me bring up the task manager, they tend to solely use their computer for trading, so they don't have all this. Look at all this stuff I've got running. Now, thank goodness I have over 20 cores here, but look at all that. That uses resources, okay? I'm using 19% of the memory. So the memory is not really a big deal, okay? So you got to kind of open up your task manager and see how much resources. If you're not using the resources, okay, then you have too many stocks loaded, and it's a data problem. It's not a Ninja problem, it's a data problem. It's getting the data into Ninja that's slowing you down or locking you up. Now, so just remove some. So what you can do, Jim, on that is, for example, you know, you can save templates. So let's just say, all right, I've got a scan where I've got tons and tons of stocks, but it slows my computer down when I first load it, and I don't always need it, okay? So what you can do is go up here, go to templates, save as, and save the instruments, and then label that template, whatever you want to label it, S&P 500. Then once you've got that template loaded, all right, you save it, and then you can delete it. And then all you have to do to bring it up again is open a new tab, go to here, go to templates, and load the saved template with all the symbols. That way you have it when you want to, but when you don't, or if it's slowing you down, it's not using all the resources. So, and then when you go time to get rid of it, you just go here, okay, and close tab. So I can get rid of anything I open by simply closing tab after I save it. So try that, okay? I think the problem is you're loading too many symbols, okay? So do you see what I just did? Can you see or can't you see? Okay, so do you see my screen, first of all? Hopefully you're seeing my screen. You do not see my screen at all? Okay, good. So you see a riot chart. Let's forget the riot chart. Let's open up. Now you should see just the market analyzer. And I don't have a lot there. But notice all my tabs down here. So I have a whole bunch of tabs. So I've got micros. I've got my day trading stuff here. I've got some indexes. So I've got a lot of tabs, but they don't have a lot of stuff on them. So my computer loads really quickly. But if I wanted to close all these tabs and just open one tab and load all the S&P 500 symbols in there, I could do that. Okay, I could certainly do that. And then, you know, let's just say, let's do that. It will take a little time to do it, okay? So I'm gonna load the, you know, a couple of them here. So those are the indexes, all right? So then it does take a little time to first populate, but once it's populated, you're done. And then once you're done with that, then what you do is save it by going here, okay, templates. Okay, go to here, templates, save as, and then save it, whatever you want to call it, but also save the instruments so you don't have to load them again. If you want to, you know, you don't have to do it that way. So then, and then close the tab here, okay? All right. So now if it's not working for 500 symbols, get a new data provider. Okay. What data provider are you using? Because we had trouble, I'll tell you who has trouble is TD Ameritrade. Sometimes they limit the amount of data that they allow into a third-party platform, and you have to call them sometimes and tell them not to be holding you back, kind of, because their data is free. So you're using TD Ameritrade. There's your problem. I bet you right there. So why don't you do this for a test between time? Go in here, see, I use Kinetic or Kinetic here, but you can use Kinetic end of day free. So why don't you do a test? Why don't you disconnect from TD Ameritrade, connect only to Kinetic, and load the scanners on an end of day time frame? Okay. Now let's talk about that for a minute. So I want you to go to your scanner right now. Are you sure TD Ameritrade is allowing you to get 500 symbols imported into NinjaTrader? You need to call them, because we have found that they have been restricting some people's symbol limit, and that may be your problem right there. So call first. But also too, what you want to go to, all right, I assume Marcus set you up. Not sure what kind of setup he did, whether he did for day trading or position trading. But if you're going to use the Kinetic end of day to test everything, it has to be on a daily chart or greater, because it's not intraday data. So the way you can check that is open your market analyzer, right click, go to columns, follow along with me. Here, why don't you follow along with me right now? So open your market analyzer, right click anywhere on the area that you can, like that. Go to columns. All right, and once in columns, all right, scroll down to the lower left-hand side, and this will show you what is loaded. Okay, this shows you up here what can be loaded, but this shows you down what you actually have loaded in the scanner. And then click on Trade Confirmer or whatever you have, and make sure, okay, you're looking at the time frame. So I'm scanning for 1 minute time frames on this. And I can tell you, if I loaded 500 stocks and I'm scanning 1 minute time frames, you better have a lot of very good data flow and a lot of PC power, because that's a lot of crunching. Okay. So you check that for each item, each study you have loaded down here. All right, and make sure the time frames are scanning the time frames that you want. So if, for example, let's just say you were using end of day data. So you come here, okay, add instruments, all right, and then any instruments you want, but then on the columns, before you load it, okay, make sure you have this set for day, okay? You need to have that set for day, not minutes. Because if it's set for minutes and you're testing it with end of day data that's free, it's not going to show up, because it only is for daily data or more, okay? Okay. All right, so let's see what you're saying. All right, James is very unhappy. Okay, this is frustrating. Works fine with my list of 100 or so stocks. Well, James, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, at this particular point, we have people scanning 500 symbols with data. I would say there's something in your data. I think you should call TD Ameritrade first. Do that first. Sounds like once you get above 100 symbols, all right, that's creating a problem maybe for you. And it shouldn't. I mean, NinjaTrader can handle that. How many charts do you have open, out of curiosity? How many, do you have a lot of charts open in addition to the symbols you're scanning for? Just kind of getting a feel for the layout. No matter what charting platform, when you first started, it's always going to take a few minutes to boot up and actually load everything. So that is probably the most time consuming part of it. No, I missed that. I guess I missed it. Retype what you were saying. On my end, after it gets to a certain number, it starts erasing the type. So maybe you typed in a lot and it started to remove. So just retype that in. I've erased everything else. Okay, can everybody else see my screen? He can't see the screen at all. Well, no wonder why you're having trouble. I thought you were okay on that. What chart do you see now? What chart do you see now? Okay, well, I'm on a different, I've been showing different charts and different displays. So is everybody having that trouble? Maybe it's the webinar software that's screwing up. I don't know. That's kind of interesting. Here, maybe it's something wrong on my end. Hold on one second. Let's try again. Now, do you see me switching around now? Okay, I think it froze on Riot. Okay, now, well, that was a problem. No wonder why you didn't know what I was talking about. Okay, all right, well, let's start over then. That's pretty funny. All right, so, first thing I was telling you here, okay, is first thing I'm going to ask you is I want you to right click on your chart, okay, go to columns. So open up the market analyzer. Everything in Ninja is Windows. So open up the market analyzer, make it a full screen like mine. All right, right click and go to columns. Do you see that? Can you see everything now? And then click on columns and it will open up this window. Okay, now we're in business. All right, so there's that. Now this is all the available ones, and this is the ones I think Mark installed for you, right? So this would be the ones that Mark put down here for you, okay? For some degree, okay? I might have more information on notes and stuff. All right, so what you wanna do is you wanna click on the trade confirmer because he loaded that for you. All right, and then you wanna check and see, all right, what the time frame is, the daily, okay? So I want you to do that now on the one that doesn't load and tell me what the time frame is. Yeah, I think GoToWebinar had a snafu, which is why I couldn't see all your text too. That was really weird. I'll tell you, these companies, they're constantly with the security settings getting it's a nightmare sometimes. All right, so you're on daily. Perfect. Okay, so that's good. So no issues there. All right, so now based on that, how many charts now do you also have open? 600 bars is no problem. They're all minimum 600 bars. In order for the scans to get set up and linked up with the chart, 600 bars. Okay, if you want to do 10,000, you can, but that's not necessary. 600 bars is all you want. Okay, that's not too much. Okay, good. Now, how many charts in addition to the scanner do you have open on all your tabs? Just want to make sure that's not causing an issue too. Quite a few. What's quite a few? I mean, 3, 4. That's a lot. How much history is on the charts? Are they intraday charts or are they daily charts? Okay, so he's got 18 charts open on Ninja. What are the 3 time frames? These questions I'm asking you are important because they help me figure out what's going on. Okay, okay, so you've got a lot of intraday charts, I take it, open. How far back if you click on the chart like this, so go to a chart, go to one of your, let's just go to your 5-minute chart. Right click on the chart, go to data series, and tell me how many bars back you're going. Or it might be days. Tell me how many either days or bars back you're going on a 1-minute chart. No, not necessarily. I'm just trying to get a feel. Don't do that necessarily. Let's just go through things here a little bit. So, how many days or bars back are you going on the 1-minute chart? So here, I'll do one of my 1-minute charts. So here's my M&Q market here. So let me just go back and go to data series, and I'm looking at 3,000 bars back on the 1-minute. So you don't want, in other words, sometimes if you're not careful and you load a intraday chart, you don't want to be looking at a year's worth of data because that will slow you down. In other words, if it pops up, if you're looking at a 1-minute chart and you've got like 180 days of data, you don't need that much data. That'll crash the system right there. And if anybody out there listening, because we've got a pretty good sized room, if you have any comments you want to throw in that to help James, let us know, okay? James, I'm so glad you brought this to my attention here because this is exactly what this is for. Exactly what the client support is for. So just check, do me a favor and just right click on your 1-minute chart, go to data series, and let me see how many days or bars you're loading. Okay, but find, okay, so you have a lot of charts loaded. That's okay. That's okay. I'm kind of just getting an idea because there's a couple things, approaches you have to take. First, we have to make sure, if you're trading an intraday time frame, that you're not loading so many price bars, which is history on the chart, that you don't need. I mean, you don't really need on a 1 minute chart to look at what the history was on that 1 minute chart 6 months ago, right? But if you have it loading that, it's using resources that you don't need to use. So check that. All right, so, okay, cool. All right, so here's what you do. All right, create a new tab. You know how to do that? Create a new tab. Okay, so go ahead and create a new tab. I'll create a new works. Okay, yeah, okay, I got. Yeah, I'm sorry, not a new tab. I was thinking TradeStation. Create a new workspace. Yes, create a new workspace, and then duplicate what Mark did for our stuff in that workspace. Then you won't have a problem. Now, let me ask you a question. Okay, let me ask you another question. On the current charts you have open, what software are you running? Are you running any indicators on those charts that are not ours, or any third-party indicators you may have already owned? Okay, so just Ninja. How many Ninja indicators have you loaded on, one of your other charts? Okay, so 5 indicators. Okay, quite a number. Okay, all right, equally to what we run on ours. So think about this. You got 18 plus charts. All right, a lot of them are intraday time frames. Loading that, plus you're going to be scanning now for 500 symbols. It's a lot of data, and a lot of needs to load and get configured by all the indicators and stuff. So yeah, simplified, and I think you'll be better. So create a new workspace. I think Mark would have created a template for you. So, you go to the control panel, you create the new workspace, you know how to do that, right? And then go to new, go to chart, and bring up one chart, anything you want, doesn't really even matter. Okay, it could be a stock, could be a future. I'll just do this for an example. All right, you load that new chart, that pops up like this. Okay, here it is on mine. Okay, and then what you do is you can create the same thing Mark just did, and go to chart, right click on the chart. See where I am up here? Right click on the chart, click duplicate window, and it will create the exact same chart. All right, so you do that again and again until you get 3 charts up there. You resize them so they fit on your new workspace nice. All right, just like that. And set the time frames the way you want. And then make sure you select an instrument link on all 3 charts. So when you type in one symbol, it changes all 3. Okay, good. So you know how to do that. All right, and I'm just going to erase that. And then bring up a new market analyzer and make sure you put the symbol lock on the market analyzer to the same color of the charts. And then I don't think you're going to have a problem. But I would not run 500 symbols with 18 open charts running 5 indicators and maybe some other scanning you're doing on that other tab. Then you can just, or other workspace. And then when you're done with a certain workspace, you close it and reopen one at a time. I think try that, okay, and see. Now, if you try 500 symbols and you have a problem on just one workspace, call NinjaTrader and just make sure they're not kind of restricting data. Sometimes they do that. Phone call usually, so they say, okay, we'll turn that on for you. So just check that out. So try that, and I think you'll find life a lot easier. I'm so glad you brought that here. Okay, we don't want unhappy customers when it can be quickly cleared up. Well, next time, and this goes for everybody, when Mark installs for anybody, if you want him to install on a specific workspace, tell him. Otherwise, he's not going to do that. He's not going to know. You know, he's not a trader. Mark is not a trader. He's just a software installer. Okay, he's a programmer kind of guy. So he doesn't want to go onto people's computers and screw up their layouts. So, you know, that type of thing. So if he goes on your computer and you know, want him to install it on a new workspace, create the workspace and he'll just do it. Okay. All right. So, you know, and you can communicate with him on the chat service. There's a chat situation there for Mark when you do it. Okay. All right. No worries. No worries. So Jim, do you think that'll solve the problem? I do. Okay. And you know how to do that, right? Okay. If you have trouble, let us know and I'll have Mark come on and help you. Okay. Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. I think Mark would have, he usually does, so I'm sure he did this on your computer. What he does is he saves the layouts that he created as templates, so those are there, and then usually as the default. So a lot of times if you just bring up a market analyzer, it will just automatically bring up what he set up. But if it didn't, then you just can load the template he created. So there's two templates. There's one for the scanner called the market analyzer, and then there's a template for the chart. I think you do that, you're going to be off and running. Okay, I think you'll be fine. Good. Cool. All right, good. All right, let us know how that worked out for you. Okay, give it a shot and see. Also, too, one thing with any charting platform is that when you first start it, it's going to take maybe a little bit of time to kind of boot up a little bit, and be careful not to press any buttons like, you know, type in symbols or let it boot up completely. Because sometimes when you type in symbols or click buttons before it's you know, loaded and set up, that can cause it to crash any system. That goes for TradeStation users, that goes for NinjaTrader users, everybody. So when you first start the platform, start it up, go grab a cup of coffee, let it get fully started, and then you're good to go. All right, Jim, my pleasure. All right. I'm so glad you talked to me about that here, because that's exactly why we do these weekly things. Okay. And just sometimes we have to show you on the chart. I'm sorry we had trouble with the webinar software. I didn't realize for 20 minutes that you couldn't see my charts. So okay. So anyway, we got past that. Never had that happen before. So kind of interesting. All right. So anything else? All right. Everybody good? All right. Good. All right. All right. So Jim, just so you know, since we talked a lot about the issue you were having today, you know, I record these, and so the recordings are kept in a special area on our YouTube channel. And to access that, you log into the portal, you know, where you use your username and password, and go to, I think, the VIP page, and you'll see where it says client support recordings. Click on that, and it will take you to the recording. And this one will be right there because I'll post this in just a little bit. And so you can review this if you need to. but you have to access it through the client portal. That's the kind of point I'm trying to make here. It's on our YouTube channel, but it's hidden. Okay, all these client supports we hide, but they're all there. So you can take a look at it in there if you need to go back to it for reference. No, the scanner, see the thing with the scanner is the scanner can scan independently of the charts, but you're probably going to want to link the scanner to the charts that you want to use for the primary time frame. For example, all right, if I click on columns here, all right, let me just see what this is. Okay, so this is going to be set up for position trades. So if you notice, I go to the trade confirmer, it's daily. So the primary chart when I position trade is the daily chart. Now, when I have 3 charts up for position trading, I'll have the 60-minute on the left, the daily in the center, and the weekly on the right. But I always scan for my primary time frame, which is going to be the one in the center. So all my scans on this particular scan is set up for daily, except when I get to the multiple time frame scanner, and that's called the short. That's down here. Okay, that's called the short. And here are the different time frames that's looking at. So what it's doing is the short time frame, if you click on that, has the 60-minute chart. The intermediate has the daily, and the long has the weekly. So in the scanner, that's the only place where you're going to see different time frames associated for that one particular scanner. And the purpose of the multi-time frame scanner is to scan looking for trade setups on 3 time frames. You know, it's looking things for the owl, it's looking at things like the PTF and stuff like that. So now that's a position trade, okay? So let's just take a look at a day trading situation. So if I go to my day trading thing and I right click, go to columns, now my primary time frame when I day trade is the 1-minute time frame. So when I go to the trade confirmer, you're going to see 1 minute instead of daily, okay? And then when you come to the short term, okay, I'm scanning for the 15-second. And then when I click on intermediate, that changes to minute, and that changes to long. But my primary time frame when I'm day trading is the 1 minute. So that's the one I scan for. And so what I do is and what you can do is when you get a setup, a scan set up for the kind of time frames you want, you can right click, go to templates, go to save as, and say all TC scans 1 minute. Then right away, you know it's for your 1 minute primary time frame. Likewise, and save it and save it. So that way you don't have to do all the settings again when you open up a new tab. You just pick the time frame you want to trade. That's important. Do you understand that? I want to make sure you got that, because that'll save you a lot of grief, okay? So that way, when you add a new tab on, you know, it will default to whatever the default is. In this case, I think it's daily, okay? So if I go to the columns here, you know, you'll see probably it's set up for the daily. Okay, no worries. All right, now I want to change this to a different template. So I'll load this and I'll set it for my TC scans for day trading, load that. All right, then I'll go back into columns, go to trade confirmer, and look, now it's set to 1 minute. So I didn't have to reload everything 100 times. Okay, so you kind of want to, and you don't have to save the symbols. I usually don't save the symbols on the futures markets because they change. So I just rather do this and either manually load the ones I want in, or go here to the instrument list and load the futures, and I'll load them all if I want. But usually I load them manually because I have specific ones I like to do. Is that clear? Because that's an important thing too. Now notice one more thing I'll share with you. Good, good. Notice one more thing I'll share with you. See at the bottom, look at all these tabs down here. So what I've done is I've created a workspace here where I'm kind of sharing between things I look a lot and day trading. So when I have a tab here set up for my day trades, but look, I have another tab right next to it that has my position trades in here. And then I can color these a different color if I want on the symbol link than I had on my, see the symbol link for my day trades, they're all blue. This one's all green. So when I open up a new tab in the scanner and I want to make it for position trades, then I just set the link on the scanner tab to the same color link on my position trading tabs, okay? So there's lots of little, my point I'm saying is once you kind of understand how it works, there's lots of little variations that you can set up to accommodate what you want. But it is a little confusing at first, no question about it. That's why I'm so glad you came here. And come here next week, because maybe you'll run into something else and you'll need a little explanation on that. And that's why we're here, okay? So don't get frustrated with it. We'll work with you and get it squared away, okay? But I get it. I do get it, because when you start a new platform, it kind of gets a little tricky, everything. All right. Okay, well, I think that's good. So I will be back here next week. All right. Thank you, everybody. Okay, and have a good week, okay? We'll see you next time. Okay, process that, sure. Sergio is asking, how do you look at the recordings? Sergio, what you want to do, all right, is go into, well, let me go there. Hold on one second. Let me bring up a browser and show you exactly how to access the recordings. Give me 1 second. I just got to get there. I got to log in, so just give me a sec, okay? Almost there. Okay, so let me do this. So when you log in to Customer Hub, you know this portal? All right, you got to log in. If you log in, there's a home page. See where the home page is? Over here are all the client support recordings. So click here. This one goes back as old ones from 2021. And that they're housed at a different area. So you just want to focus on the YouTube ones, okay? So log in, make sure you're on the home page, and then it's right up here. Cool, got it? Jim, do you see that? Just in case you want to look at this video again too. Okay, good. Sergio, you good? Okay, understood. Excellent. Okay, great. All right, I'm glad you mentioned that, because you know what? Other people probably don't know that as well. Also, too, there's a VIP area. You can click there. So, you know, technology tips. Also, Wednesday Night Live. Okay, we also put those on various areas, so you can check those out. Count details, and then go to the VIP center where there's more stuff. Here's the software download area. Okay, so it's segregated by charting platform, and then our risk reward stuff is down here. Our risk control stuff is down there. So for example, like if you, let's say, can't find the instructions or the manuals on how to use the software, go back into the charting platform area you're using, all right, and just download the installation file, because it's a zip file that contains all the manuals. and you can gain access it through there, okay? So that's kind of, everything is pretty much in there. It's just knowing. Also, don't forget the forum. So now the forum is where we announce software updates, and we do that in this area here, see? So this is an area here. We put a little notice recently about bar charts. We had people hold off upgrading to 8.1 until we tested it. We tested it and it's fine. So we updated that. But a lot of information is in here. Also too, you can certainly ask other traders that are using the software questions in there as well, okay? If you like options, okay, we have a special offer on options play software that you can access, and they give you 20% off. We do not get any money from them, but we like them, and we like to make sure a lot of people like options. I like options. It's a great piece of software, and also it's a great educational tool too for software. So they do credit spreads. They show you how to do credit spreads on debit spreads, but it's very good. And you can take a 30-day trial, all right? And so it's kind of fun to play around with it, but use this sheet because it gives you the money off, okay? If you hit sign up, all right, it takes you to a special offer for our people only, okay? And again, it's just something we wanted to offer with that. We work with Options Play on that. Helpful software tips are in here for the various platforms. So my point is there's a lot of information in here. So kind of go in and explore around, okay? All right, I guess I've taken enough of your time, but thank you very much. Have a good one, everybody, and we will see you back here next week.